With two teams involved, having a nice day can be rather subjective. For the Mets, whose collective backs were now up against the wall in more ways than one, the trip to Boston would only be nice if they came away with a couple of wins. As for the Sox, well, nothing could be nicer than getting the two victories they needed to take the series. So on this night, the Mets sent their winningest pitcher in 1986, Bob Ojeda, to the mound to help them get back in the series, while the Sox countered with Oil Can Boyd, who got off to a rocky start right away.
Leading off for the Mets, number 4, Lenny Dykstra, center fielder.
Len Dykstra's leadoff homer gave the Mets a lead in the series for the first time, an occurrence which seemed to spur the New Yorkers on to even bigger and better things. Gary Carter's double gave the Mets their 4th consecutive hit and a quick 2-0 lead off Boyd. Then, just when it seemed that things couldn't get any worse for the beleaguered Sox, they did. With runners on 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, Ray Knight grounded weakly to 3rd, and what should have been an easy out turned into an adventure. When the rundown was over, everyone was safe. And then, with the bases loaded, Danny Heap single to center drove in 2 more runs to give the Mets a 4-0 lead after the top of the 1st. As if the satisfaction of their big inning wasn't enough, the Mets rejoiced some more as Bob Ojeda continually kept the Red Sox off balance, allowing just 5 hits and 1 run in 7 innings. And for the former Boston pitcher, revenge was sweet indeed.
It's kind of weird, you know, coming back here for the World Series. I couldn't have figured it, couldn't have planned it, but it is special. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't special, if it didn't mean something. It's nice to be in it, but against these guys, too, it's really ironic.
Roger McDowell came on in the 8th, and when he was finished with his 2 innings of scoreless relief, the Mets had a surprisingly easy 7-1 win at Fenway, which narrowed the Sox lead in the series to 2-1.
see Mets or Red Sox images added to that montage when the '86 series is history. We welcome you to Fenway Park for Game 4, a bit cooler than last night, but still pleasant conditions, temperatures in the high 50s. Hello again, everybody. I'm Bob Costas. Trailing 2-1, the Mets hand the ball to Ron Darling on 3 days rest, while the Red Sox raise some eyebrows by giving Al Nipper his first postseason start. Look at that ERA, 5.38. Now, as far as Darling is concerned, he, of course, was the tough luck loser to Bruce Hurst in Game 1. An unearned run beat him 1-0. He says he likes to work on short rest. Coming back on 3 days, he feels he has better control of his breaking pitches. Certainly rest is no problem. As far as Nipper is concerned, he hasn't pitched since October 4th. Realistically, John McNamara hopes that Nipper can get the Red Sox through 6 innings, keep them in the game, and then they can go to the bullpen. Nipper can be tough if he has control of his wide assortment of breaking pitches. He has a pretty good curveball. He is certainly not an overpowering pitcher. For his part, he says he knows he has had an off year, but he hopes tonight to deliver the game of his life. And Marv Albert, if he's to do it, he'll certainly need better defensive support than Oil Can Boyd got in the first inning in Game 3.
Bob, as it turns out, in each of the first 3 games of this series, a misplay has helped turn the game around. Saturday night, Game 1 at Shea Stadium. It was the ground ball by Rich Gedman right through the legs of Tim Tuffle, allowing Jim Rice to score the only run of the game. Game 2, Sunday night, 3rd inning, Keith Hernandez, perhaps the finest fielding first baseman of the game, messing up the Roger Clemens bunt, leading to a 3-run inning for Boston. Last night, in game number 3, this helped take the Red Sox out of it in the Mets' 4-run first inning. Catcher Rich Gedman taking the blame on a rundown mix-up, but it was a combination of Gedman and shortstop Spike Owen responsible for letting the Mets off the hook. It all began with the bouncer to Wade Boggs, and I talked about it with Boggs.
It was just one of those plays that you go over it a million times in spring training, and you're going to blow it once or twice during the year.
Is that depressing to the ball club because it contributed to that 4-run fast start by the Mets?
Well, at the time, this score was 2-0, and if we would have got out of it and got the rundown play correctly, then the score would have been 3-0 after that inning. So really, all it enabled the Mets to do was score one more run.
When you think Wade Boggs, you think 3-time American League batting champion, but you have been putting on a Brooks Robinson type display in the World Series. Now, a batter can get hot. Can a fielder get hot?
Oh, most definitely. If all the bounces go right, you can look like Brooks Robinson or Craig Nettles out there. I was fortunate enough to make 2 diving plays and a couple backhand plays and start a double play. And I think in a spectacle like this, everything's magnified, and it really enhances everything you do out there.
Did it bother you when you were referred to as a below-average fielder at third base?
Oh, most definitely, because I come out and work harder on my fielding than I do my hitting, because it doesn't come natural, and I just go out there and try to take as many ground balls as I can, and so far it's paid off.
You faced Ron Darling, Game 1, got you looking, couple of bounce outs, 0 for 4. Can you learn from the experience and bring that into tonight's game as something that might help you?
Oh, most definitely. It's a different feeling when you haven't faced a guy and you're facing him for the first time. You're feeling him out, and you don't know how he's going to work you. Now I know how he's going to work me, and I basically have a good idea.
And you've solved the puzzle of Ron Darling?
I don't know if I solved the puzzle. I'll let you know that after tonight.
All right, thank you, Wade, and we'll be visiting with Ron Darling in just a moment.
NBC Sports presents the World Series, an inside look. Brought to you by Taco Bell, the cure for the common meal. By Apple Computers, makers of the Apple II and Macintosh families of personal computers. And by Contel, big company communications for companies of all sizes. Mets or Red Sox images added to that montage when the '86 series is history.
That's the kind, boy, if you get a foul ball, you're really happy you did your job. Deep center field, way back, way back. We're tied up.
11 years ago, a high school student named Ron Darling, a resident of Millbury, Massachusetts, was sitting up in those center field bleachers during Game 6 of the '75 series between the Red Sox and Reds. In fact, Bernie Carbo's game-tying homer landed very near him, and then he cheered with the rest when Carlton Fisk won it with the dramatic extra-inning homer. It's a long way from out there in '75 to right here in '86.
I'll tell you, I never thought I'd ever go from the center field bleachers watching the Red Sox all the way down here to maybe pitching to be pitching in the 4th game. But it was amazing. I remember Pete Rose said that the swing before the home run was the worst swing he'd ever seen. And I remember that swing sitting in center field saying, there's no way Bernie Carbo's going to hit this guy. This guy's just too tough. And before I knew it, even in the center field bleachers, it's tough to tell whether the ball's coming out for a home run or not. But before I knew it, it was out there.
Did you think as a kid about how you would pitch at Fenway Park? Did you create scenarios, you on the mound?
Well, what happened is that Yastrzemski was my favorite player when I was growing up, and I didn't really pitch till I got to college. So for me, I always wanted to be a player at Fenway. I always wanted to be in left field playing the wall after Yaz was done. But so I never really thought about pitching here, but the last couple of days I've done a lot of thinking about pitching here.
And what are those thoughts?
Well, I think the one thing I try to remember is that the home runs I give up at Shea are usually home runs anywhere, so I'm not going to worry about the Green Monster and just try to pitch my game. Mel Stottlemyre's really helped me. He said early in his career he tried to throw everything away, and he got pounded here. And finally he pitched his own game where he threw in and threw out, and finally he had a lot of success here.
Ron Darling, who would also be the Mets starter in Game 7 if it goes that far. Now, a year ago at this time, Dick Howser was leading the Kansas City Royals to dramatic come-from-behind victories, first over the Blue Jays in the playoffs, then against the Cardinals in the World Series. But in the years since then, things have changed dramatically for Dick Howser. We knew you'd be interested in an update on his circumstances, and Bill McAtee sought him out.
I mean, it's awfully tough when you're on top of the world. You won an All-Star game, and the year before you won the World Series, and you're kind of on top of the world, and all of a sudden you're not on top of the world.
It is unlikely you could find a more well-liked and well-respected man in baseball than Dick Howser. 3.5 months ago, the country watched as Dick's life began to change dramatically. While managing the American League to a rare All-Star Game victory, he began to suffer a stiff neck and severe headaches. When he returned to Kansas City and checked into the hospital, a CAT scan showed a tumor. Surgery revealed the worst. The tumor was malignant. After 6 weeks of radiation treatments completed in 3, Dick has lost 14 pounds. But he remains encouraged and optimistic.
When I went to the hospital, I underwent a lot of tests. That's when I didn't know what was going on, because I was probably pretty heavily sedated and all, and they ran a test, and they found out that I had a tumor, had a brain tumor.
And then there was the question of whether or not it was malignant.
Yeah.
When one hears something like that, what goes through your mind?
It'll get your attention. I can't deny that.
I was very silent. I was stunned. I was listening very carefully to every word that they were saying. I kept hearing the diagnosis and what they were saying, and I expected them to say, but it can be taken care of.
I was frightened a little bit, sure. But how frightened, I don't really know. I don't recall. I don't think it brought me to tears at that time. I've had some tears. I've shed some tears since then. The first thing I remember saying, let's go get this thing. Let's beat it.
How we doing, buddy? Hanging right in there. Hey, man, please go. Okay. All right. Yeah, you got it.
I think the nicest thing I hear is how good I look. I
You do look good.
I do. I feel like I've been vacationing in Florida playing golf, and I don't want to put myself in a position where everything's going to necessarily be all right. I don't mean that. I feel that way. But I want people to know that I play golf, that I feel good.
It is pretty out here.
It is, isn't it?
Since the surgery, Dick and his wife Nancy have become devoutly religious. A week ago, the Royals announced Dick would return as manager next year, and now his doctors consider the next phase of his treatment.
I don't want them to feel sorry for Dick Howser. I think their sorrow is placed in the wrong place. It doesn't do any good to be bitter about this thing. I want to think about managing. I want to think about getting through this thing medically, and then I want to think about managing a ball club. And I think about them both, and that keeps me going.
When you're alone with your thoughts, and you think about where you are right now, what goes through your mind?
Once again, sometimes depression, but not for very long. I don't feel sorry for myself very long. I just feel, I said it earlier, I feel like we're going to get this thing licked. Somehow, through the Lord, through my medical team, through all the support that I've got, we're going to beat this thing.
Away. And so we turn things over now to the public address announcer at Fenway Park, Sherm Feller.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise for the presentation of the colors of the United States Air Force. Please join vocalist Natalie Cole in the singing of our national anthem.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Coming up next, Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola with the play-by-play of Game 4 right after we check with New York in this update from NBC News.
Hear it.
The fourth game of the 1986 World Series is brought to you by Lowenbrau. Brewed in the great beer-drinking countries of the world, this world calls for Lowenbrau. By Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? by Philips Longer Life Square Bulbs. It's time to change your bulb to Philips. And by Merrill Lynch. Your world should know no boundaries. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully. Welcome to Game 4, which should bear the label, The Gamble of John McNamara. You have to go back in the record books to 1947, 7th game of the World Series, to find a starting pitcher with a higher earned run average than Al Nipper. That was Hal Gregg of the Dodgers, who was KO'd in the 4th inning. The Yankees won the game 5-2, and they won the World Series. However, McNamara's gamble is well thought out. It gives Bruce Hurst and Roger Clemens an extra day's rest. It also means the Mets will not have to see Bruce Hurst twice more in the series. It means that Roger Clemens will not pitch at Fenway Park in the World Series. And it also means if it goes 7 games, the ball will be in the volatile hands of Oil Can Boy. However, John McNamara is ahead in the series. He's playing with house money, and he's able to gamble and gamble with the odds. The fellow who's going to call that bet will be Len Dykstra, leading off for the Mets. Let's meet him and go to Joe Garagiola.
Okay, Vin, a calculated gamble it is, and for the Mets, the ace in the hole has been Lenny Dykstra. Lenny, have you ever faced Nipper?
Well, we faced him in spring training this past spring, and I got 2 at-bats off him. He kind of reminds me of the guy that pitches in the National League named Eric Schau. I'm going to, try and look for the same type of thing and not really try and do too much, just try and get on base.
I read yesterday in a cab you said you just wanted to get on base the first time. Do you have a plan today?
Well, I'll tell you, I did the same thing I did yesterday. I got up same time, I ate the same thing, and took the cab at the same time to have him drop me off at the same spot. So I'm going to try and do the same thing I did last night, and that's get on base a few times and help the ball club win.
It's a good thing you're not superstitious, huh?
I don't know. Everyone in baseball is superstitious. Don't ever let them tell you different. You know that.
How about bunting? We haven't seen you really bunt yet.
Well, I tried to lay one down yesterday. It's a good thing to show them. It keeps the infield in, and you might see me bunt tonight. You never know. I might bunt 2 or 3 times.
Okay, good luck to you.
All right, thank you, Joe.
We'll be back right after these messages.
I think all good teams grind it out, and I think it's a tribute to the character of a ball club, or to the heart of a ball club. Certainly guys like Dykstra and Bachman kind of typify that kind of all-out effort and whatever it takes to win.
They lead off the top of the order, and they're both scruffy, dirty, hard-nosed, Pete Rose-type players, and I think that sets the tone.
There was nothing the Mets' dynamic duo wouldn't do for the good of the team, and while their work ethic might have been Puritan, their style was wild.
Rob boys! Rob boys! Rob boys! Rob boys!
Well, we're just about ready to start tonight's ball game, and first of all, we should say, outside of the pitcher, there is no change in either lineup. So if you're going to keep score rather than throw the lineup at you, we'll go very slowly. Al Nipper on the mound. He was 10 and 12 during the regular year, and he'll be pitching to Len Dykstra, then Wally Backman and Keith Hernandez, and we're about ready to go. 1 ball and no strikes. Nipper brings a full bag of tricks. A fastball. He has a curveball, a slider, a knuckleball, and a screwball. And he needs great control. There's a hopper to the left of the shortstop, Spike Owen, who makes a good play to take a hit away from Dykstra.
It was a good piece of hitting by Dykstra. It was a good play by Owen. He shortened up as if to bunt, thinking he might get the breaking ball like he did on the first pitch. Got a fastball inside. He inside-outed it. And Spike Owen, almost handcuffed, really made a fine play. I think there were messages sent very early in this game. First pitch, a curveball. Nipper trying to tell him, hey, I can throw my breaking ball whenever I want to. And Owen making that play stopped one of the big attacks when Dykstra gets on and Backman follows.
Dykstra last night had 4 hits. Here's Wally Backman. He had 1 hit last night. 0-1. Last night, the top of the Mets lineup had more than half the hits. In the first 2 games, the top of the lineup was very quiet. On deck, Keith Hernandez. And the bunt fouled away.
It was off his foot, too, as he tried to bunt. And he's limping around. Fastball. Much like the Mets came out last night, Vin, really out of the chute. Red Sox with Nipper really had to put him down 1, 2, 3. There you see it.
The big concern for John McNamara is the fact, A, that Nipper hasn't worked in 17 days. B, he must stay ahead of the hitters. Well, he is certainly ahead of Backman now. No balls and 2 strikes. A roller to Buckner, and he'll do it himself.
It took a little bit of a bad hop, but it wasn't hit that hard. And so watch it kind of shoot to the right. There you see it right there. And the grass was cut once again today. When I asked the groundskeeper, Joe Mooney, he said, hey, you put tarp on the grass, it'll grow 1/4 of an inch. But that grass has been cut. It is low. And that ball did take a little bad hop.
So we have 2 down here in the first inning. Base is empty, and Keith Hernandez, the batter, with Gary Carter on deck. And he starts him low, ball 1, 1-0. That's basically the key to Nipper anyway. He must stay down since he does not have that kind of velocity on his fastball.
This is a big out for Nipper if he can get it.
Missed inside with the slider, ball 2.
If he can get him 1, 2, 3, it'll be the equivalent of what the Mets did in their first inning last night.
In there.
Slider.
Two and 2. Three and 2. On deck, Gary Carter. And he went with the fastball and missed with it. So Hernandez becomes the first base runner, and the batter will be Gary Carter. John McNamara with a calculated gamble, as we explained. He now has his best 3 pitchers lined up in case. Hurst against Gooden for game 5. Clemens against Ojeda if there is a game 6. And then if there's a 7, it would be Ron Darling coming back against Oil Can Boyd. 1-1 to Gary. On the hands, a little pop fly back at first behind Buckner, and it's going to drop foul untouched. And now let's see what a second swing will be given to Gary Carter. He should have been retired, but Buckner, of course, playing on that bad leg.
He breaks right to the foul line right now. He thinks that ball is foul. Now he doesn't find it. He's not even looking. Now he's trying to find it, and he knows he's in deep trouble right here.
And you can see his left foot slipped, and he went falling on his numbers. The ball hit him just about on the wrist. So Gary Carter has been given a good break. Watch the left foot. There it goes.
He was in trouble before that slip.
No error on the play. So Buckner involved in a twisting foul, can't get it, and Carter given life with the count 1-2. Got him on the outside corner. No runs, no hits, a man left, and at the end of half an inning, Mets nothing, and the Red Sox coming up. The Red Sox lineup, no change from last night. Wade Boggs, Marty Barrett, and Bill Buckner. Jim Rice in the cleanup spot in left. Then Don Baylor, along with Evans and Gedman, Henderson in center, and Owen at shortstop. And trying to stop them for the Mets, Ron Darling. Darling, you remember, lost the heartbreaker on an underrun, and he went 7 innings and lost 1-0.
The defense, Mookie Wilson is in left field. Dykstra, Strawberry's strong arm, but the word is not that accurate at all times. Ninth, Santana, Backman, Hernandez at first, Carter behind the plate, Darling, good sinker ball, curve ball, throws a fork ball, and I like what he said. He said the game that he lost, he said, hey, we didn't get enough runs, but I had good rhythm and all those other good cliches.
Darling, who went to school at Yale, but also went to high school at St. John's in Millbury, Massachusetts, which is right near Worcester. And as he mentioned on the pregame show, sat in the center field bleachers when Bernie Carbo hit a home run that landed nearby in that important Game 6. And now suddenly, 11 years later, here he is on the mound trying to beat the Red Sox. Darling ready to look at Wade Boggs, Marty Barrett, and Bill Buckner.
Wouldn't you think that Wade Boggs just once would swing at the first pitch?
Well, what do they say? 5% of the time.
He wants to take a good look at it, and he'll measure it, and he's got himself programmed because, as you heard him on the pregame show, he's faced Ron Darling. He knows what Darling's going to try to do, and he knows pretty much what to expect.
Well, it's the second time around for Wade now to look at Ron Darling. Darling having counseled first with Mike Torres about the older Red Sox hitters, then Bobby Ojeda about the young hitters, and then pitching coach Mel Stottlemyre about pitching here at Fenway. Fastball strike. Boggs taking a look. Another fastball, a comebacker. And Darling takes care of Boggs. So back-to-back fastballs to take care of the Major League's best hitter. And the batter will be Marty Barrett. Darling comes into this game with a reputation of being a very good fielding pitcher, and you just saw an example of it. Second baseman Marty Barrett with Bill Buckner on deck.
Hernandez is really wide at first base because Marty has been hitting that way the whole series. There you see it, and that really kind of plugs that gap.
In there, 0-1. And that's hit into left center, and there's nobody there. Barrett on his way to second base, and he's in there with a double.
It's the old saying, if you're going to play him there, you better pitch him there. It's right over the inside part of the plate. And I tell you, the more you see of Marty Barrett, the more you like him. You make a little mistake on him, and he'll hurt you badly, just like he did, and get the pitch you want. He'll still get contact and probably punch at the opposite field. Just a good-looking ball player.
So Barrett, a one-out double up the alley in left center, and now Buckner and Rice trying to pick him up. Ball one. Line drive, foul.
Pitch was inside, and Buck really opened up on it and hit it hard. Usually Buckner will hit that ball left center field, but get that ball where that one was, and he'll do exactly that as we look at Marty Barrett at second base.
Strawberry is giving Buckner a good deal of right field. He's almost over in right center. Everybody else is about straight away. Santana trying to bird dog Barrett at second. And he lunged for one to Hernandez. He'll do it himself, and that way he keeps the play in front of him and eyeballs Barrett at third. So Marty Barrett at third, 2 down in the first inning, and here's Jim Rice. Started in fastball, and that's a rare time for Rice to take a first pitch fastball.
Well, he makes up his mind before he gets in that box. It's what he says that what he's going to do on that first pitch. And it looks like he's a little bit lower on that bat. I can't really tell from here.
0-1. One and one to Jim Rice.
As you watch Carter after he gives that sign, it's a pretty good indication as to what it's going to be. Get that ball inside, and he can just flick that ball to left field, keep it outside, and he wants to drive it.
1-1. In the dirt, and that brings up an interesting point with a runner at third. Darling led the Mets with 7 wild pitches during the year. And you might remember in Game 1, he tied a World Series record with 2 wild pitches. And that has to be on his mind with Barrett at third and 2 out. Off speed, and he missed, and now he's behind 3-1.
The key to how much it's on your mind, Vin, as we look at Don Baylor, the on-deck batter, is how much confidence Darling has in Carter and being able to block that pitch. It's usually a breaking ball, the curve ball, that they wild pitch on, and if you got great confidence in your catcher, you throw it with confidence.
And he walked it.
One of the interesting things in that sequence is that he did not come inside. Everything was away, like that wall may be on his mind, contrary to what he said. Now Baylor, who is right on top of that plate, is one of the few guys who is strong enough to take that outside pitch and flick it against the wall.
The first word he said to Carter, and he had kind of a puzzled look on his face, he said fastball. So we'll see what that means as he works on Baylor. First and third, 2 out, first inning, no score. 4-1. The infield swung way around. Wally Backman almost but not quite behind second base. Knight is guarding the line, and Santana is in the hole. Dykstra deep in left center. Now he's in a hole 2-0. On deck, Dwight Evans. Ball 3.
Brother, look out now. He's got the green light. I'm sure he got it when he left home today. As we look at Stottlemyre, there's no sense looking at the coaches. He can pick his pitch, and I mean you zero in. Not only fastball, low inside, whatever you want. This is the time.
3-0. The count to Don Baylor. Fastball at the knees and good port of the plate.
The outside part, though. This guy's looking for something he can pull.
On deck, Dwight Evans. Three and 2. So on a full count, Jim Rice will be going from first base, and Hernandez hollering over to Darling, I'm coming off the bag. Barrett at third.
Early in the game, we've had that game situation. It's strength against strength now.
Rice ready to go from first. There he goes. And it is just outside. Ball 4 to load him up for Dwight Evans.
Dwight Evans, a good low ball hitter, a good low fastball hitter.
Right field.
So Evans checks in with Baylor at first, Rice at second, Barrett at third. Breaking ball, ball 1. So after all the fastballs he threw, he tried to start Evans off curve and missed.
Well, if you're Evans, what are you looking for? You missed with the curveball. He's been relying on the fastball. You're ahead of him. I think he'd be looking fastball.
And he's the best low ball hitter on the club. In there. He got it around the belt or a little higher. So Baylor holds it first. Rice out there at second. Barrett down the line from third. One and 2, and you can hear them groan here at Fenway as Evans went after the curveball and came up empty. Little ground ball down to Santana. He shovels to Backman, and the inning is over, and the Red Sox come up empty. No runs, 1 hit, 3 left, and the boy from Millbury is off the hook.
It was May the 18th versus Texas when Al Nipper suffered a deep muscle cut near his right kneecap. After a wild pitch, Larry Parrish trying to score from third, and the collision. And for a while, it certainly looked like Nipper's career was in a lot of trouble. He was on the DL 21 days, finally came back after that serious knee injury. And right near the very end of the year, we did a game with the Sox in Toronto where he took a line drive off the inside of his left knee.
You know, he still got a mark from that, because I asked him about that. He said that thing is still tender.
I was always surprised, and we really pointed it out that day, about how the glove wound up behind his left leg. He was so vulnerable to a comebacker. Well, now here's Darryl Strawberry. Big, slow curveball for a strike. The 5 strikeouts, however, that's not high for this series. Rich Gedman has struck out 6 times. And he tries to pull a knuckleball down to Marty Barrett, who gets it.
You can see that young Strawberry just is not sure of that strike zone. I mean, it's not a case of a particular spot or a particular pitch. They're getting him out with most anything.
And it's interesting, too. We heard so much about how he's capable of hitting the wall in left field. And like Hernandez last night, he got a pitch on the outside part of the plate, and he still went out and tried to pull it instead of going for the wall. Here's Ray Knight. Right.
One of the things you have to fight here, like you used to have to fight in the old Ebbets Field or the Polo Grounds, you put on such an exhibition in batting practice because they're laying it in and you're popping it over the seats into the bleachers and you carry it on to the game.
Just to refresh your memory, 315 down the left field line, 302 down the right field line. The graveyard is in center, right center, 420 out there. There's a shot into the hole and through into left field for a base hit for Ray Knight. So Knight, a 1-out single to left, and that will bring up Danny Heap, who was born to be a designated hitter. After all, those are his initials.
He's a funny kid. Danny Heap. He asked him, he said, what do you think you have to do to play regular on this club? He said the team bus would have to go off the road.
Well, it didn't go off the road last night, but he kind of pushed the Sox bus off the road. Remember when the Sox messed up the rundown, the bases were loaded, it was Danny Heap who singled in 2 runs in a big first inning. Ball 1. Big chopper to Buckner. He goes down to Owen. Back to Buckner. Double play. 3-6-3. And the Mets are erased in the top of the second inning. And at the end of an inning and a half, no score.
How to make the 3-6-3 double play? They should save this. Watch Buckner. Now he comes up with the ball. Make sure he's going to get 1 out. He gives Owen a good throw, shows him the ball all the way, and look at Owen dance out of the way of the runner so he can get something on it, and it's a 3-6-3.
You know, from that angle and Ray Knight's lack of speed, you realize he was throwing the ball down to the shortstop, and Knight was probably 35 feet from the bag. So he had plenty of an angle and plenty of room to hit Owen, and Ray never had a chance to get to him. We'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network. No score. Bottom of the second inning. Rich Gedman, Dave Henderson, and Spike Owen. We mentioned it in game 1, the fact that Darling and Gedman faced each other in high school. Gedman pitched to Darling and hit him. Darling pitched to Gedman and walked him intentionally with runners at second and third. Ball 1.
Had a long talk with Gedman about his hitting, and when he talks about taking that top hand off the bat, he feels he gets even more power that way. He says when you hold on with 2 hands, it stops your swing. The perfect swing, the bat is above my head, and I feel like I get more power.
1-0 to Rich. Line drive inside first, down the line and in the corner. Strawberry playing the carom deep, and Geddes into second base, standing with a double.
He just pulls that pitch, looked like a breaking ball inside part of the plate, and drills it. And this could be trouble when it hits that wall. You can see not much room there, but Strawberry plays it well. And it's a two-base hit all the way, but if it gets by Strawberry, Gedman could run for about maybe a day or so.
Well, the Sox had a one-out double by Marty Barrett in the first inning. Now, Gedman doubles, opening up the second, and the batter is Dave Henderson. Ball one. If you joined us late, Ron Darling walked 2, gave up a double, and then got Dwight Evans with 2 out to hit into a force play, and now he's in the soup again. In there. 1-1 to Hendu.
Looked like he wanted to pull the trigger and just wasn't sure of it.
Fouled away. Cluster of balloons suddenly appears with the sign "Go Sox," and that'll hang over the infield for a while. Hopefully, and we'll just have to wait a while.
Hopefully it'll come straight down like it is. Standing ovation for balloons. How do you like that? This is prime time. Look at Santana. Remember when he bit the balloon?
Yeah, right.
He'll have a meal here if he wants to.
And in the old days, around the world on a Western Union telegraph, a time called balloons.
Yeah, and you don't know what's going, so you have to have batter fouling off a bunch of pitches.
1-2. The count to Dave Henderson, and the balloons go down the steps and into the Mets dugout. Maybe.
He can't get through.
All right, back to business. Gedman at second, nobody out, no score, second inning. Time.
A lot of times with the man on second base, the pitcher will just stare you to another sign, and that's what happened there. You don't necessarily have to shake it off. You just stare, and the catcher knows and goes to a different set of signs.
With a right-hand hitter up there, it's Backman's responsibility to bird dog a little bit at the runner, and Henderson strikes out. First strikeout for Ron Darling. Remember, he struck out 8 in game 1.
It looked like a bad pitch. He may have chased a breaking ball out of the zone. Certainly did. Sinker. And that's a big play because with a man on second base, if you make the out, you got to pick up the base. You got to pick up the base.
Spike Owen trying to get Rich Gedman home. 1 ball and no strikes to Spike. And a busted bat, ground ball to the right side. Backman is on it to get him, and Gedman moves over to third. 2 out, a runner at third, and the batter is Wade Boggs. Boggs hit sharply back to the box in the first inning. Then you have Marty Barrett. If you're Ron Darling, you got a lot of thinking to do right now.
Boggs will try to hit him from the middle of the diamond over to the left field line, and that's the way they're playing him. Dykstra is shading him towards left center field. You see that, and Mookie pretty much straight away.
Darling working out of a stretch, trying to improve his control. A strike.
There are many theories on taking the first pitch. The best one I ever heard was that if it's a strike, you know he's coming back with it. If it's a ball, you're ahead of him. And when you talk to most hitters who take that first strike, they say, well, I want to try to judge the speed of his fastball.
1-1 to Boggs. High fly ball into right center. Cruising over is Lenny Dykstra. And so the Red Sox leave another man in scoring position. And at the end of 2, no score. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Set your sights on the best in baseball. Order the 1986 World Series program.
There are more than 100 pages of articles and photographs making the World Series program a real collector's item. Send $6 check or money order to World Series Program, P.O. Box 4686, Trenton, New Jersey, 08651. P.O. Box 4686, Trenton, New Jersey, 08651. Include your proper return address. The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Tonight's game is brought to you by New York Life to help you get the most out of life. And by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. The Red Sox have squandered 2 golden opportunities. It is scoreless in the third with Mookie Wilson, Rafael Santana, and Len Dykstra. And a strike to Mookie. Hitting about $1. One and one. Ground ball wide of first to Buckner. He has to overhand and spot it to Nipper, who makes a good play. And lunging for the throw, he lost his cap, as you can see. Sign of a good play.
That was not a good throw by Buckner, and he says to him something like, hey, nice going. Now, when he gets the ball, looks like he's going to have plenty of time. But instead of giving it to him from the letters to about the cap, watch where he gives it to him. Low, and he has to reach for it, and Nipper really makes a good play out of it. The perfect spot is right about at the letters, where you just catch it as you're running. You reach like that. That's a tough play, Vin.
And you remember, not only trying to catch the ball, he's got to hit the bag as well.
And make a left turn so he doesn't have a collision.
Now, Nipper did it all 1 out, and here's Rafael Santana with Len Dykstra on deck. No score in the third. Ball 1. John McNamara says, as Santana checks in, that Al Nipper, his entire game starts out very early. If he has his rhythm by the second inning, he's going to be tough. Well, here he is in the third. A strike. 1 and 1.
He's had control of 3 different pitches so far. I mean, that was the breaking ball he got over, the sinker. He's got the slider over.
1 and 1 to Santana. Little check swing. He kind of pity patted the ball back to Nipper. 2 down. So Nipper retires 2, and the batter will be Lenny Dykstra, who hit the ball fairly hard in the first inning, but at the shortstop, and Owen threw him out. Ground ball to Buckner. He'll take it to the bag, and that's it. The Mets are out in order, and at the end of 2.5 innings, Nipper gets an ovation, no score.
You hope that your pitcher has more than one pitch when you start the game. A game within the game. Watch what Nipper does. Strawberry, the first pitch. Curveball. Knight, first pitch. Slider. Heap, he turned it over. So he's got it going so far.
And he still has a knuckleball.
But that he hasn't really thrown yet.
Marty Barrett followed by Bill Buckner and then Jim Rice. Bottom of the third, no score. Barrett's been tearing it up. Busted bat and a little looper to Santana. You could hear that handle crack. So that's that for Barrett. So Marty, who doubled in the first inning, breaks his bat and loops out to the shortstop.
And the count 2 balls and no strikes. Kind of interesting that he wouldn't get a better pop at that ball, but I guess he really surprised him by coming that far inside. So far you could see Marty draw his arms in as he tried to hit that ball. Usually you take a swing like that when it's 2 strikes on you.
Classic example of a jam job. 1 out, and here's Buckner. High pop fly. Boy, that's a twister, and it's up to Hernandez. So Buckner fouls out to Keith Hernandez. 2 down in the third, and Jim Rice coming up with the bases empty.
You're the catcher now, Vin, and the guy before you has just hit the first pitch. I mean, the guy before Rice. Barrett had 3 pitches made to him. Would you think Rice would be hitting or taking?
Well, knowing his pattern, it was kind of shocking to see him take a first pitch fastball. I figure he's done that once for the record books. Now he's up there to hack.
You cannot assume that he's going to take this pitch.
Not if it's in the neighborhood. High, ball one.
You have that gun cocked.
Rice with Baylor to follow. 2 out in the third, no score. There's a fastball, and he was right after it. 1-1. Line drive, foul. Tell you one thing, if you're Jim Evans on the left field foul line, you have to first gauge the ball, and second, you have to make sure you're not shot by the carom. He was almost hit by the ball coming off the wall.
And you see that jutting out part. That's why Santana was out. The shortstop really has to go out on every ball that's hit down that line, because that ball will come right back to him. You think you may have a double, and they'll throw you out by 20 feet at second base.
1-2 to Jim Rice. Half swing, strike 3. The Rice couldn't hold up. Darling, for the first time, retired the side in order, and at the end of 3, Mets nothing, Sox nothing.
The Mets won again last night, despite Gary Carter's embarrassing error in the 4th inning when he missed a routine pop foul.
Routine?
For more colorful baseball coverage, read New York Newsday with special playoff and World Series bonus pages.
Routine.
And a daily scorecard to let you catch every pitch.
Carter made a weak throw to second base in the bottom of the 5th inning.
What?
But the All-Star slugger redeemed himself in the 6th when he smacked a
Pick
single
up a
to
copy
right.
and see for yourself. The playoffs and World Series are more colorful in New York Newsday.
Give you the idea of an early pattern established by Al Nipper. And of course, because of that, he's kept Bill Buckner very busy at first base. Now Nipper will be pitching to Wally Backman, Keith Hernandez, and Gary Carter.
And that was a pretty good tip-off right there about what they think of Backman, because if there was ever a time that Backman would be bunting, this would be it to lead off this inning. Nothing happening. Darling has had to battle out. They're shortened up. Buckner said something to Nipper. We'll see.
And remember, Backman is 10 for 20 in bunting this year. He grounded out to Buckner in the 1st inning. 1 ball and no strikes. Slight pattern already developing not only with Nipper but in the World Series, where the road team has won the first 3 straight. Shot up the middle, deflected by the glove and the mound. Slowed out into center field, and Backman holding. So Wally opens up with a base hit, and the hitter will be Keith Hernandez.
That's his theory. Hit the ball up the middle. If I'm late, it'll go to left field. If I'm on target, that's what happens. If I'm a little early, I can pull it and have plenty of room. So he's on, gets it started, and Hernandez, who can handle that bat in the batter's box.
Nipper, as you saw, came within an ace of getting his glove on the ball and knocking it down. So here's Hernandez, who walked in the 1st inning. Backman at first, Buckner holding, so the right side of the infield is open. Remember when Hernandez was hitting in the 1st inning, Jim Rice was almost beyond the scoreboard in left center. He's not overshifted like that right now. Ball 1. Hernandez, if you're thinking about it, did not sacrifice all year, but he's still taking a long look at Buddy Harrelson. They smell something's afoot for sure.
Well, you have some first baseman, when they get the runner diving back, they'll really put that hard tag around the back of your neck. It's almost like a rabbit punch.
Backman going on a pitch out, and the ball is hit behind Owen, who goes back to get it and take care of Hernandez. But what a job of protecting the runner. He defeated the pitch out.
They put the play on, and it was hit and run all the way, and Gedman gets out there early, and look at Hernandez just throw the bat. What a piece of hitting.
If he hit that ball maybe 3 more feet behind Owen, he has a base hit. Spike was able to go back and get it. So Keith at least kept his runner alive and advanced him a notch. And the batter will be Gary Carter. Carter, you remember, struck out on a breaking ball.
Keith thought he should have hit that ball to left field. Even the pitch out, he's talking about drilling it to left field.
There's been a little extra action on that ball, too. He was describing the flight of it. So Backman at second, one away, and here's Carter. Called out on strikes in the first inning. Backman at second, one away in the fourth, no score, and Nipper wants to talk to Gedman.
Obviously, he's just not sure of the signs with the man on second base, and you better make sure, because boy, that's the way the pass balls and the wild pitches occur. They just.
This is a tough time to go over signs,
right,
isn't it, in the World Series.
It is, but I tell you, I don't blame Gedman at all for making sure. Brinkman wants to keep the game going, but your pitcher has to throw with the confidence that he's throwing the right pitch, and if he's not sure of the signs, there's just no way he can do it.
And remember what Nipper has: fastball, curveball, slider, knuckleball, and screwball. All right, Carter is in there with one out. Backman at second, no score in the fourth. On deck, Darryl Strawberry. Time again.
That was Carter that time calling time. So they're all playing games now.
Remember, Gary called out with that breaking ball. He might be looking for it now. Fastball. High drive into left field. Rice is looking up. She is gone. Home run, Carter. Now that's the art of hitting. He says to himself, the pitcher struck me out on a curve. Is he going to come back with the curve? And Nipper thinks he's probably looking curve. I'll give him a fastball.
Well, that could be. But I just wonder how much effect it had on not being sure of the signs, just what to throw. You cannot make a pitch if you don't feel like you know what you're supposed to throw.
So Gary Carter hits it out. Here's Strawberry. He goes the other way with that outside pitch, and this time it pays off. By the time Rice plays it off the wall, Darryl is to second base with a double, so he's learned. Remember, in the second inning, he tried to pull the outside pitch and rolled it to Barrett. This time he went with it.
Here is the home run by Gary Carter. First pitch fastball. Just a perfect monster. You can see it. Yes, up there.
22.
Down she goes.
Very nice.
Fastball.
So 2-0 in favor of the Mets on that towering home run by Carter, who has now hit in 6 straight games. And the batter is Ray Knight, who singled in the second inning. Strawberry at second, one away. 2-0 New York in the fourth. Slider strike. 0-1. John McNamara behind 2-0 on a roll of the dice in game 4. But remember his logic and his theory. Even if I lose tonight, I have my top 3 pitchers rested and ready. Hurst, then Clemens, and if necessary, Boyd. That's where home runs wind up. That's a graveyard for pitchers' hopes. And you might see somebody up there. There he is, Corey Leibel, our cameraman, who climbed the ladder alongside the scoreboard. There it is. He's standing 37 feet above the playing field. Got to get battle pay for being up there. And line drive to center, base hit. Henderson is charging. Strawberry being waved. The throw cut off by Buckner. So Strawberry is in. It's 3-0 Mets, and Ray Knight holding at first base. So Knight is 2 for 2 with an RBI. And now Bill Fisher is going out to the mound. One of Fisher's concerns, and we always just try to give you what might be a possibility on the mound. When Nipper pitches, Fisher watches his left knee. If Nipper, being the competitor that he is, hurries up so much, his left knee does not come back far enough, and consequently he's high wild. And it could be, this is one thing that Fisher's talking to him about, the knee and slowing down. So he's given up a home run, a double, a single, and it is 3-0 New York. There's the knee. It looked like he brought that in fine, but he got it right down the pipe.
When you're taking hitters deep 3-2, you just lose that percentage, and you can see Knight was just going to get a piece of that ball and try to put it in play. I just wonder how much the rhythm was broken by that long meeting of going over the signals, because it certainly did break his concentration.
Well, here's Danny Heap, who hit into the double play in the second inning. Remember, he banged one to Buckner. 0-1 to Danny. They're holding Knight at first, although Ray is certainly not a base stealer. Nevertheless, Buckner's on the bag. And that's hit the other way, foul. 1-2 to Danny. Knight holding at first. 1 out, remember. Tom Seaver, for a bad knee, would be pitching tonight. And there's a high fly ball into shallow right. Dewey Evans is there. And we have the second out of the inning. We told you that story, but to repeat, Al Nipper, growing up near St. Louis, would go into St. Louis whenever the Mets or Reds came in just to see Tom Seaver pitch. And as the fates would have it, Seaver would have the bad knee, arthroscopic surgery coming up as soon as the season is over. He would have pitched Game 4, and instead the kid who worshipped him, Al Nipper, takes his place. Here's Wilson, grounded out in the third inning. Good save by Getty. Tom Seaver, going back to 1969. Ralph Kiner there to interviewing. The year of the impossible dream. And now a somber Seaver in his 40s, standing on the sideline. Mookie hits a fly ball to right center. Plenty of time for Hendu, and he's there. And puts it away. But it's Gary Carter's inning. That fastball he hit into the screen gives the Mets 2. They add another, and they lead 3-0 at the end of 3.5.
Al Nipper, I've never faced before, and I was just told that he throws a lot of curveball sliders, and he's got it like a screwball. And all I was looking for, first pitch like that with a runner on second, was just to try and drive the ball somewhere, and it left it out a little bit out over the plate, and fortunately I was able to get it up.
Here comes to the belt. Pitch. Swung on, hit high in the air, deep to left field, way back at the wall. Goodbye, home run. Gary Carter, a 2-run homer.
Gary Carter with the look of Eagles and the payoff. And here's the reason why.
It's a low fastball, but watch as the weight shifts. Now both hands are on the bat, which is in contrast. There you see it, in contrast to what Rich Gedman talks about. His style is to get that top hand off so he can get more power, and there you see it landing in that net. So it really makes no difference what you do until you're in that hitting zone. And if you can handle it, and both of them can, you get results. It's what you believe in.
Now the crowd exhorting the Sox to come back. It's 3-0 Mets in the bottom of the fourth. Don Baylor, Dwight Evans, and Rich Gedman. Backman almost behind second base and now goes across the line. He was actually on the other side of the bag. Now I wonder how long the plate umpire will let him do that. He was moving while Darling was actually making his pitch. That could be a distraction to the hitter. Not this time.
I think the only time he'll stop him, then if Baylor would say something.
He sure is moving. However, remember years ago, Eddie Stanky, and that's going way back, but he got to arm waving, and they really put an end to that. But Backman isn't gesturing. He's just suddenly shifting on the pitch. 1-2 the count. And down goes Baylor.
Off-speed pitches. Stayed away from the fastball. Just took something off.
That's the third strikeout for Ron Darling, who had a high of 8, you remember, in the first game.
Just swung over it. Took something off the curveball.
It should also be noted now that Darling, after a very rocky start, has retired the last 7 in a row. Evans hit into a force play in the first inning. That was a big play. That's when the Sox were ready to go up and running. They had the bases loaded, but Evans hit into the force. High pop fly into shallow left. Out goes Santana, but there's Mookie. And had some trouble with it. The breeze is blowing out when you look at the flag in center field, and evidently it almost took that fly ball away.
He looked like he had it all the way. It looked like it was going to be a routine play. He did dig it up a little bit. And right there, he's got it. Now she starts to drift.
You can always smile after the catch.
Right.
And here's Gedman, who doubled to right. First trip. 4-1. One and two. Off speed in the dirt. Darling, who's the king of the no decision. He had 13 no decisions this year, but he kept the Mets in the ballgame. They won 11 of those 13. 2-2. Little foul off to the left. Does not appear playable. It's back in the crowd.
Pretty obvious what Darling is trying to do. He's been working Gedman in and out. Everything downstairs. We've been talking about how he is a high ball hitter. Hit that first one, pulled it. As we look at Dwight Gooden,
who has been named pitcher for tomorrow night. He'll go up against Bruce Hurst.
He's charting pitches much like Darling did last night.
And sitting on the bench in a very unfamiliar position, and he doesn't quite know what to do with himself. Right there, that's Danny Heap, and for a National Leaguer to be the designated hitter, he just doesn't know what to do. 2-2. On the hands, a little pop fly to Ray Knight, and the Sox are rung out in the fourth. 1, 2, 3, 9 in a row. Retired by Darling. 3-0 New York. We'll be back after these messages.
But Ethel. Oh, wait a minute, honey bunch. Yeah, I know I was going to see you downtown, but I got to meet Ricky. All right, I might as well tell you the truth. I'm going to the ball game. You want to go too? Oh, boy. It's a wonderful game. It's a game for the whole family. So let's all forget our worries and have fun at the ball game whenever we can get to one. What do you say? Let's go.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Tonight's game brought to you by Toyota, who offers a full line of 1987 cars and trucks. Who could ask for anything more? And by your Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan, who remind you to carry the caring card. Rafael Santana, followed by Len Dykstra and then Wally Backman. And the bunt foul. Santana hit back to the box in the third inning. In there. Good off speed. Santana out in front tried to hold back, and he was tied up to take it. 0-2. Off speed, golf, and missed it. That's the second strikeout for Nipper. The other one was called. Remember when he got Carter on the breaking ball in the first inning?
Here's another breaking ball. Gedman a good target, low. He just drops it in there.
And with one away, the batter is Lenny Dykstra. Grounded to short after he kind of ran up in the box, and then grounded out in the third inning. 0 for 2, and again the Sox have to look bunt. Boggs on the grass. Barrett shortens a couple of feet at second base. Fouled away.
He really pulls that infield in, doesn't he?
1-1.
I just wonder if sometime in Nipper's career somebody was stealing signs, because he puts that ball in the glove, as you pointed out, and never really holds it in that bare hand. And when it goes into his windup, and that's the best way to protect against somebody stealing signs.
Fouled away down the left field line, out of play. Of course, at the same time, it's almost a 1 in a million grab to make sure you have a good grip, especially when you throw knuckleball, screwball, sliders, curves, everything else.
Well, the only thing about that is that you throw it so often, he's been doing it for so long, it does become second nature.
You think he sets it in his glove, you know, so that he can grab it cross seams, along the seams?
He may. I don't know.
1-2. Knuckleball hit back to the box, and we told you he's a good fielder. That takes care of Dykstra. Good play by Al Nipper. Quick reflexes.
Little blink there, which is kind of interesting. There you see the grip. You saw it. Look at his fingers. That's the knuckleball. Now he's set. The glove is behind him once again, and that's where it was when he got hit in the leg. And he sets himself for some reason on his follow-through. Most of the time, that glove gets behind him on the follow-through.
We noticed that when he was hurt against Toronto. In for a strike. You just keep an eye on that kind of a shot, and you'll see that left glove most of the time will wind up behind his left leg, so it doesn't do him any good at all.
It was on that last pitch. It's not that blatant, but it is definitely behind him.
And that's fisted into the hole and through into left field. So Backman goes 2 for 3.
Backman, one of the runners that Davy Johnson says if you get a good jump, go ahead, you're on your own. So with 2 men out here, even though you got that gap between first and second, you can bet that if he gets the lead, he's going to go.
Keith Hernandez had 2 singles and a walk last night. Look how clean shaven he is tonight. Last night he looked like he came here on a raft. Tonight he's walked and grounded out. 0 for 1. Strike.
You have to get the second in 3.6 or less. You got a pretty good chance.
Backman is talking, I think, to Buckner. 2-1.
But his eyes on the pitcher.
Buckner is a very talkative first baseman. He visits with just about everybody. In fact, when the teams are introduced, the Mets lining up on the third base line and the Sox on the first base line, Buckner is always across home plate visiting with the Mets. Backman goes. The pitch taken for a strike, and he's stolen it.
You really felt it coming.
Yeah. And you know, Hernandez looked down to Robinson, and Robinson nodded as if to say, good, good.
Well, it was a slow pitch, and he just laid off it. Follows it all the way, and Gedman really got something on the throw, but a difficult pitch to get anybody. They have measured, they have timed Gedman. 1.8 to 2.8 is what it takes him to get rid of that ball. He got rid of it in good shape. And once again, he's going out there now to talk to his pitcher, put that man on at second base to make sure that they are together. This happened once before.
The only time that the Mets had a runner at second base was in the 4th inning when Backman singled and advanced. And that led to Carter's home run. Then Strawberry doubled and Knight singled him in to make it 3-0 New York. Now you have a runner at second with 2 out. 2-2 to Keith Hernandez. Fastball, and it's hit to Buckner. And he's deep, but he can do it himself. So the Mets leave Backman at second base. And at the end of 4.5 innings, the Mets 3 and the Red Sox nothing.
We've shown you the pound ball. Here's what the knuckleball looks like. It's kind of a misnomer because as Nipper comes through with it, it's almost like a fingertip ball. You can really see how he's got the fingertips on it. And here it comes. That's what the hitter sees.
That's why a knuckleball pitcher takes good care of his fingernails.
A hangnail to a knuckleball pitcher is a serious injury.
And how? All right, they're alive at Fenway. Bottom of the 5th inning, 3-0 New York. And the crowd asking Henderson, Owen, and Boggs to do something. Henderson struck out on a low curveball in the 2nd inning. Ball 1. Darling is on a roll. He's retired 9 in a row since the double by Gedman back in the 2nd inning. Fastball slicing down the right field line, curling foul and out of play. 1-1. Darling is accustomed, I guess, to pitching tough ball games. We talked about all his no decisions. The Mets were involved in 4 shutouts this year, and he was the pitcher in 3 of them. 1-1. And then, of course, game 1, he and the Mets were shut out 1-0. Tonight he's leading 3-0 in the 5th. Fastball got him looking. So he was looking for the pitch that he had struck out on, the curveball, and he was left gazing at the express.
And I'll tell you something, even if he'd have swung at that one, he wouldn't be able to do much with it. Look where he places it. Not only is it a good fastball, the location is dead perfect. Right on the outside part of the plate, and about all you can do is what he did, bow and say, yes, hi, how are you?
10 in a row retired by Darling, and here's Spike Owen. Rolled out to Backman in the 2nd inning. 4-1. The 2 men so far in Red Sox uniforms who could kick themselves would be Evans, who hit into the 3rd out force play with the bases loaded in the 1st inning, and Boggs, who flied out for the 3rd out with Gedman at 3rd in the 2nd inning. And that's the last look the Sox have had at the game. Talking about a look at the game, you're looking at Roger Clemens, who will be center stage if there is a 6th game. Ball 2. Three and 2 to Owen. And he walked him, and to walk Spike Owen hitting left-handed is almost sacrilegious. Now you have Boggs and Barrett. That is the 3rd walk given up by Ron Darling. Boggs, a sharp comebacker in the 1st inning, fooled in the 2nd inning, and lifted a lazy fly ball to center.
The pitch that fooled him was a slow curveball. It looked like he tried to pull it. The one he hit the back of Darling was a fastball.
Ground foul outside of 3rd down the line.
First pitch, very rare.
That's first time in the series, I believe.
Absolutely. He just doesn't do it, but he figured that Darling would maybe try to get ahead of him. He was going to go the opposite way. His target is from about the speakers in left center field over on the fastball. If he gets something off speed, he's going to try to pull it.
0-1. Owen at first, held on by Hernandez. 1 away. Change, 1 ball, 1 strike.
There's about the target for him. You see it's right up the middle. That's what he shoots for. Even that fastball, and he'll play your tune from the speaker over to the line.
High fly ball into left center. Dykstra going back on the track at the padding and makes the catch. And back to first comes Spike Owen. Again, that breeze, which is blowing out towards left center, gave that ball a little extra push. And Dykstra took a look at the wall to see just how much room. That's a 20-foot warning track, so he had some room. He had it all the way. There was no doubt about it. So 2 down, a very big out, and the batter is Marty Barrett with Owen at first. 3-0 Mets in the 5th. Barrett doubled and then hit a soft looping ball to Rafael Santana in the 3rd inning. He was jammed in the dirt, and Carter can't find it. By the time he picks it up, Owen remains at first.
I tell you, that's one of the real tough plays, because everybody in the ballpark sees it, and you don't know, you have no idea where that ball is, because what you're trying to do is just try to keep it in front of you. And by doing that, he just has no idea, and you're looking for some help from your pitcher if he can give it to you.
Usually you see that base runner at first, and his indecision with a left-hand hitter, but Owen was looking right in.
When that ball's in front, that usually is like a red light for the base runner.
Again, we remind you about Darling and his wild pitches. He's in the dirt a lot. 1 ball, no strikes. Ball 2.
Now, he had him 2-0 when he jammed him and he hit that little pop fly to the shortstop, Santana. And that pitch was inside. Now he takes a look at see what's going on here, but with a score of 3-0, he's got to get on. He wants to be the base runner and get the big guys up there.
Bill Buckner's on deck. Barrett takes ball 3, and Darling with a look of disgust, and Carter does a little cheerleading before getting the ball back to him.
That's a very polite word, cheerleading, because he let him have some pretty good blast there, because the one thing you don't want to do is walk the guy to get the time run at the plate.
Well, if you walk Owen in Fenway, that's bad enough. And now Davy Johnson thinking if he walks Barrett and lets Buckner come up and hurt him, that's really bad pitching. And a strike. 3-1.
I don't know about you, Vin, but I'd have him taking this one too.
Strike 2. So with a full count, Carter reminding everybody, keeping the infield in the ball game. Owen will be going. Hernandez is off the bag. Owen at the ready to go. There he goes. Fastball hit up the middle. Base hit. And Owen is on his way to third without a play. So the walk to Spike Owen has been a big play in the inning. And with 2 down, here comes Bill Buckner representing the tying run.
And once again, Barrett is in the middle of it. He did it last night. He did it again tonight. Twice. He led off with a double in the first inning, or he had a double in the first inning. Now the base hit on 3 and 2 when he tried to work for the base on balls. He just sent it right back up the middle past Darling before he could react. And that's what he's supposed to do, set the table, and now it's up to the big guys.
So after retiring 10 in a row, Darling is in trouble, walking on, getting Boggs, and giving up the 3-2 base hit to Barrett. Davy Johnson not having anyone throw in the bullpen. He's sticking with Darling, who had to weather a storm in the first inning. John McNamara hoping that his Sox, who left 4 men in the first 2 innings, will get off the floor and get something going. And here's Buckner, grounded to first, fouled out to first. 100 RBI man this year. Little pop fly, and it'll be Wally Backman to put it away, and Darling has dodged the bullet in the 5th. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. The Sox have left 6, and at the end of 5, 3-0 New York.
Now you see where Buddy Harrelson is, and the rule says base coaches shall be limited to 2 in number and shall be in team uniform and remain within the coach's box at all times. That's the rule. Now they got a footnote. It says it has been the common practice for many years for some coaches to put 1 foot outside, so forth and so on. The coach shall not be considered out of the box unless the opposing manager complains, and then the umpire shall strictly enforce the rule and require all coaches on both teams to remain in the coach's box at all times. And the common practice of coming out is okay. If you were a Red Sox catcher or manager, you'd complain, they'd have to make him get in, but until they say something, he's going to stay right where he is, which is a good move on his part.
And Gary Carter at the plate takes a strike. Breaking ball. Remember, he struck out looking at a curveball in the first inning and then hit a fastball out of sight in the 4th. Well, if they allow them to stand there without wearing a helmet, they're going to allow them to stand anywhere they want. 0-1.
The crusade continues.
1 ball and 1 strike.
But what is really interesting about that is all coaches agree they're waiting for the first guy to do it.
I doubt if it would be McNamara. 1-1. Gary, with the home run tonight, has hit in 6 straight.
And had that been a fastball, he'd have had his 2nd home run. But he was looking fastball, and they took something off the curveball, and you saw what happened.
Little pop fly back of first. Tough play for Buckner on the bad leg, and it's going to land. And Carter's going to leg it for 2 as Evan has to throw the ball back in. And Gary's in there with a fist double to right field.
He was fooled on that pitch. It was a breaking ball. You could see at the very last minute he just kind of snapped at it, and he didn't really drive that ball. And Carter, when he's up there, I mean, he follows that ball all the way. Take a look at his eyes. Now they'll open up when that ball gets close. Look at that. Like somebody put a quarter in his nose.
Look at those eyes open up. Good hitters do that.
A modest thing and thine own. A little blooper the other way. In the box score, it's a double. And the batter will be Darryl Strawberry. Evans never had a chance to make a play on him.
And Carter wasn't going to take any chances. He went in head first.
Landing gear down. So here's Strawberry, grounded out on an outside pitch that he tried to pull. So they came right back in the 4th inning and pitched him away, and that time he doubled to left.
Now he has to try to pull, at least get the ground ball to move Carter to third base, because in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, that's when you have to hit that ball to the right side.
For the Mets, their 3rd extra base hit tonight. 2 doubles and a home run. And they had a home run and a couple of doubles last night. Ball 1. When you talk to Bill Robinson about Darryl Strawberry, and he's a young player just waiting to be great, and Bill always says, I don't like to mess with him, but he is disturbed over that busy bat of Strawberry's, and especially the way he tilts the top of it like that. It's okay in batting practice when Kenny Harrelson is throwing, or Buddy Harrelson is throwing to him, but in the big leagues, those big league pitches can eat you up.
Well, that bat barrel goes towards first base, as you can see, and it's a little tough to get it going. But again, it's one of those things. I don't blame Bill. You just don't want to mess up a young fellow like that. Not just yet.
1 and 2.
He has to come to you and say, hey, help me.
Well, Bill says I'd love to have him keep that bat quiet, hold it back, and then just come down on the ball. But he said, I'm afraid I'll wreck him. A very sensitive area. 1 and 2. Fouled away. Trying desperately by using his right foot to kind of time Nipper. It's all part of the dance.
But the mechanism is so delicate. I mean, it's like fine-tuning. Watch a thing, he almost does like a sweep. And there's so many things he does. And when you do that many things, more things can go wrong.
Now Nipper being overly cautious, nibbling, which is not what the Sox want. And he's 3 and 2 to Strawberry. Crawford throwing back of him in the pen. And Ray Knight on deck. Nobody out.
Now with men on base, he holds that ball in that bare hand.
High fly ball into deep right field. Evans going back on the track at the pen wall to make the catch. Tagging up his Carter and goes to third. And if Evans doesn't get there, that's in the bullpen.
He had enough room to set himself, but just another foot or so, and Strawberry, they would have said he timed it perfectly. He didn't have a hitch in that swing, but same swing, gets under it. A high towering drive, which allowed Evans to get back there, and he's got plenty of room. Waiting for it. Look at there.
So Strawberry makes out, but he does get his man over to third as he barely misses the home run. And of course, Evans probably hearing familiar words from teammates. Plenty of room. But even with his great arm, Carter was able to move over to third, and Strawberry moves back on the bench. And the hitter is Ray Knight. Single to left, single to center. The infield is up. Ball 1. So here in the middle of the game, 6th inning, the Mets leading 3-0. The Sox don't want to give up another run.
Strawberry did his job, though. He did make it out, but he picked up a base.
Knight was number 2 on the Mets this year in scoring fly balls, if you're thinking about him lifting one out of the infield. Ball 2.
I only wish the wall had been in right field. Carl was here in the ballpark. He's working in TV. I bet
it really
he did
affected
wish.
his career.
Yeah,
It only had
certainly
23 years or so here.
I wonder what would he hit if that wall was out there. How about Williams too? Ted Williams.
Right. 2-0 to Ray Knight. And he's not about to chase, and the count 3-0. Now I'm sure if you're Nipper, you got to think, I don't want to throw him a fastball 3-0 in this spot.
No, because we've seen Knight jump on that 3-0 pitch, and you look at who's coming up next. You got a left-hand batter, Danny Heap, coming up.
And he threw in the breaking ball. A little slider in there for a strike. 3-1. I was just thinking of Gedman now with a runner at third. He has to handle maybe a knuckleball, maybe a screwball.
Well, the reputation Nipper has, he's not afraid to throw that breaking ball when he's behind. He certainly showed it there, 3-0, throw a curveball.
Here he comes, 3-1.
Another one.
Another one. 3-2.
That's the difference between the minor leagues and major leagues in many cases. That pitcher gets behind like that and he throws something besides a fastball, controlling the strike zone.
Full count to Ray Knight. Now will he get the fastball? Doubtful. And a little foul off to the right out of play.
3 in a row.
So it's one breaking ball after the other from 3-0 to 3-2.
But it was interesting you said that, because I'm sure that's what Knight was thinking. Is he going to give me the fastball now, or is he going to come back with another curveball?
Well, one thing, he's got room. In other words, if he walks him, you have Danny Heap coming up. You have a chance of a double play. And McNamara sweating it out in the dugout. Johnson right now kind of sitting back leading and looking for a chance to get some more. Fastball, whack to left. Rice handles it, and Carter is going to come anyway. The throw, he is out at the plate.
He broke back to third base, and Rice was able to play shallow and make that play. Rice really didn't get rid of that ball that well. I mean, he had a little trouble gripping it, but I think one thing that helped was Carter kind of broke in. There are a couple of things that made the play for the Red Sox. One thing, Rice is in shallow, and as soon as that ball's hit, Carter is off the back. Now he goes back, but it's too late. And Rice, playing shallow, gets off a throw all the way on a fly to Gedman, and Gedman forces Carter to slide in. He's almost closer to first base than he is to plate. Now he tries to tag it, but it's too late.
I can't believe he would try to come in on a line drive to shallow left field. Gedman stayed right with him as he tried to hook inside and avoid the tag. But Gary really made an error of judgment. Harrelson had nothing to do with that. Carter looked at the left fielder, and he made the decision to go.
But as soon as that ball's hit, he's got to go back to the bag, and he watched it about 4 feet off, and then he went back.
And I tell you what the play has done, it has given the Sox new life, and the crowd has been chanting, "Here we go, Red Sox, here we go." Well, we'll see. Rice, Baylor, and Evans in the bottom of the 6th inning. Jim Rice walked in the 1st inning and struck out in the 3rd. 3-0 New York in the 6th. 0-1. Boy, he came right after him with a fastball that time.
And got it in tight. Showed him a message. Just one more caption on that last play, Vin. The wall came into play there because Rice can play so shallow at Shea Stadium. That's a base hit.
The one fastball that Ray Knight got, he drilled it. And there's a fly ball into right center. Here comes Dykstra. He's got it. 1 down. And Don Baylor coming up. Friends, once again, we remind you we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. Don Baylor, the DH, walked in the 1st inning, struck out in the 4th.
He got him with off-speed pitches.
Backman is doing his walk behind second base. High fly ball down the left field line. Mookie in the corner. He's got it. Fine play by Mookie in the left field corner.
There's that swirling wind they talk about, and Mookie, a big smile on his face. He got there, and you could just see that ball kind of be taken away from him. Now, he doesn't have a whole lot of room when he gets near that wall. You saw him look for it, and he found it. Now, he's so close. Now, watch it kind of drift away from him.
Tell you one thing, it looks like Mookie's having himself a ball, and he might very well enjoy it, because when you think about it, in the blink of an eye, as far as a man's life is concerned, from the World Series to an old-timers game, it's just around the corner, and he's having fun. Here's Evans with Gedman on deck. Evans, a big out in the 1st inning with the bases loaded. He hit into a force play. Last time up in the 4th, he flied to left. 0-1.
I have never seen it. There's Mookie from Corey's camera behind him. That's what he's looking at.
I grew up from that position. Behind the center fielder in the bleachers in the old Polo Ground. Ball 2. 2-0.
This is an interesting inning because if a baseball game is really charted by a graph, the Red Sox up because of the big play, the Mets have to answer that challenge. How do you do it? By setting them down 1, 2, 3. It's just like when they scored 3, you got to come back and score 1 or 2.
Well, we have 2 out here in the 6th inning. Ball 3. So the low ball hitter, he's up around the eyes, and he's behind 3-0. On deck, Gedman.
And did you see how hard Gary threw that ball back to him? A lot of times when a catcher throws that ball back to the pitcher, he's delivering a message. You gun one and say, come on, shake it up.
3-0. And he walked him. So for Darling, he's fighting himself. He has walked 4. And with 2 down, Gedman the batter. The biggest walk, the walk that put heat on the Mets bench and on Darling, was the walk he gave to Owen in the 5th inning, but he worked himself off the hook. Last year, he walked 114 batters. However, this year he reduced it by about 1/3. Meanwhile, the Mets in the bullpen staying warm.
Improvising as always.
Getty doubled and popped up. 1 for 2. Fastball hit down the left field line. That's going to be against the wall. Mookie plays the bounce. Into third goes Evans. A throw to second, and they got Gedman. And both catchers have run themselves out of an inning. Where Gedman was going, they shot him down. No runs. 1 hit, a man left. At the end of 6, 3-0 New York. We'll be right back.
What Jim Rice told us, when that ball hits from the scoreboard to the line, it's a true bounce. Mookie plays it perfectly, even though he hasn't played the wall that much, and you would think that Gedman, with a pretty good idea what happens, tries to get in the second. It's not even close, and the tying run, forget about it. That never gets to the batter's box. Ball was well hit, and the slide wasn't exactly right out of a textbook. Knight, who turns into a spectator watching it, and look at him rooting.
Remember, the hitter who would have been coming up with Evans at third and Gedman at first would have been Dave Henderson.
And as Knight reacted cheering, you saw Evans put his head down in despair.
High pop fly off third. Wade Boggs coming over in front of the Mets dugout, and that takes care of Danny Heap. Heap was left at the plate on the line drive by Knight and the running mistake by Carter. So the catchers have a lot in common and a chance to chat. Steve Crawford, you might remember, came in the second game, worked an inning and 2/3 and allowed just 1 hit. As you can see, he didn't have a win during the regular year, but he's had 2 during the postseason. He won the 9-3 game. Well, here's Mookie making his contributions in left field. Mookie caught a drifting fly ball. He had to fall down to handle it, went up against the wall to make one, and then threw out Gedman. He's been busy. Bouncer by the mound to the left of Owen and into center field, base hit. So Mookie is 1 for 3, and that'll bring up Rafael Santana as Crawford surrenders a single.
Just hits it right back up the middle.
Nipper in 6 innings allowed 3 runs, 7 hits. Now Crawford allows a base hit, and here's Santana coming up. Santana hit back to the box and struck out. Mookie runs well at first. Right. Wilson with 25 stolen bases, so he's always a threat. And they know it. That was close.
Mookie's another one of the players that Davey Johnson gives the green light to. Mookie kind of leaning. Diving back.
0-1. And he bluffs, and the ball hit foul. I think Santana trying to take a shot to right field, and the count 0-2.
He may have faked Santana into that one.
And got him looking, so Santana strikes out for the second out. Strikeout number 1 for Steve Crawford. Wilson holding at first, and Dykstra coming up.
Center fielder, Lane Dykstra.
Right down the middle, it seemed like. Gedman ready to go.
Davy Johnson, if he has flashed his sign to Buddy Harrelson, Dykstra had a long look at Harrelson before getting in. He is grounded to short, grounded to first, and hit back to the box. And Boggs still looking bunt on the grass. 0-1.
I tell you, Mookie really does a job down there. He fakes a lot of starts, and he snaps the infield going. I tell you, he's been getting a good enough jump. I'd kind of look for him to take off.
Sure, and of course a good base runner like Wilson will open up a couple of holes. Either Barrett or Owen breaking on the pitch. And he's going. The pitch is a strike. Gedman's on a bounce. It hits Mookie, and it's deflected to Spike Owen. And that saves a base. Otherwise, the ball's into center field, and Mookie is at third.
And that big Crawford really got down. You look for Mookie to go. He was getting a good jump on his false starts, and then there he goes. And I mean, it's a straight steal. You see his head down looking for the bag, and the throw comes right into him, hits him right in the arm, and it goes right to Owen. That tells you it's a straight steal.
So because of the fortunate carom, the Sox are lucky that Mookie is at second and not third with 2 out, and Dykstra with the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, that ball Gedman threw in such a hurry really sailed or tailed into the runner.
When you do that, it's because you don't have all seams. You're not throwing across the seams, and you throw that sailor. Big Crawford had to duck on that throw.
So we'll see now about Dykstra picking him up. On deck, Wally Backman. Boy, did he fly open on that one. 1-2. Remember, Gedman caught 4 of 5 base runners in the league championship series. The Mets have turned it around on him. The Mets have now stolen 4 out of 5 against Gedman and really the pitcher. 1-2. High fly ball into pretty deep right field. Back goes Evans on the track at the wall. Leaps, he can't get it. Home run for Dykstra. And what a picture Evans paints in right field.
He got that ball inside. He got the other one outside. He missed the strike, and he gets this one inside, and the little guy just turns on it and pumps it into the seats.
Lenny Dykstra, who inspired the Mets with a first-inning home run last night. And all you really have to do is look at Dwight Evans for the whole story. It's worth more than 1,000 words.
You got a glove on it.
Now look. There it is. That's the picture. Well, what goes around comes around. All you have to do is think back. Anaheim Stadium in Southern California. Dave Henderson, Bobby Grich, the long drive to center. Henderson getting his glove on it and spilling it over. And now Evans is hit by the same thunderbolt, and it's 5-0 New York.
Dykstra is putting on a great exhibition of how to play this game and not being 9'8" and weighing 290 pounds. He gets him thinking about bunting and running, and when you get close, he hits a home run.
I can't believe how hard he swings, too. I can understand Davy Johnson's somewhat complaint about, hey, little man, just try to pick up the runner. There's a guy at second base, and he takes you deep. That's shocking.
But that first one outside, he just kind of tried to punch it to left field. They got inside. He turned on it.
3-0. Right. 5 runs, 9 hits for the Mets. No runs, 4 hits for the Sox in the 7th. Talk about lightning hitting twice. This was Henderson going after Bobby Grich's ball. High, glove, and over. Evans actually got his glove on the ball leaning over the fence. Same result. Fastball hit to Marty Barrett. A little tricky hop, but he stays with it. Well, we showed you the picture of despair of Dwight Evans. What about the other side of the coin? Mr. Lenny Dykstra. This is how he reacted. And at the end of 6 1/2, 5-0 New York.
Number 4, center fielder, Len Dykstra.
Delivery swung on, hit in the air to right field, barely deep. Evans going back, way back, near the wall, jumping up and can't get it. A home run, Lenny Dykstra.
Here's that dramatic picture that I'm sure will be etched in many minds for quite a while. Not so much Evans going back, and not so much that the ball went off his glove. But oh, that look of utter frustration and despair. That's the picture. Life in the big leagues. Dave Henderson, who had a chance to be a hero if they had only allowed him the opportunity, and that was when Gedman ran the Sox out of the inning. Henderson was due out. Ball 2. Two and 0. Right. Henderson struck out in the 2nd inning, struck out again in the 5th. The difference, he struck out on a curve, and then he was caught looking at a fastball in the 5th inning. 2 and 1. Fastball, so he's a little mesmerized up there now.
Not only that, the pitch, Vin, Darling is really doing a job of controlling the strike zone. I mean, he is spotting that ball so well right on the outside corner. He's got him to where he can throw the curveball or the fastball now.
5-0 Mets, bottom of the 7th. Fouled away. Two and 2. Busted bat and a fly ball down the left field line. Mookie over to make the catch, and look at the foul territory. Just about enough for a camp chair. And the bat broken, and Henderson, a picture of frustration, going back to the dugout. One down, and Spike Owen, the batter, grounded out, and then, much to the disgust of Ron Darling, walked in the 5th. Dave Henderson struck out twice, breaks his bat, and fouls out. It's been a long night for Hendu. Ball 1. You have seen the anguish of Dwight Evans. It wasn't always quite that way. So later on, we'll dust off a happy memory for Dwight. 2-0.
He's just really disgusted with himself because he's just trying to throw a fastball over the middle of the plate for a strike, and here he is behind, 2 balls and no strikes. He's got a 5-run lead.
To a guy who hit 130 against right-handers this year. 2-1.
And that was borderline.
Spike's got 1 home run this year in 591 plate appearances. Uno. And he's behind ball 3. 3-1.
When you get like that, you're disgusted with yourself. You really get to aim in the ball, and you say, well, I'm just going to throw it down the middle and let him hit it, and you just can't find the plate.
In there. So 3-2. He's not trying to finesse him. He's trying to get the ball for a strike. Mel Stottlemyre on the left. Johnson on the right. Mel, of course, pitched for the Yankees and pitched many times here at Fenway. And he walked him again. Leading 5-0. He walks Spike on. He is fit to be tied. And the Mets realize it, and they come in to try and soothe him down a little bit.
Well, I'm sure that when the when they talked about it in the meeting, if he could give them 7 tough innings, that'd be plenty. He was on short rest. They got a 5-run lead, and the one thing that can hurt him is the base on balls. He's gone as far as Davey wanted him to go because he's got that strong bullpen. Of course, if they get the complete game, that's an extra bonus. But that base on balls is what you want to stay away from.
He has walked 5. In the first game of the series, he walked 3. So here is Wade Boggs, hit back to the box, twice flied to center. Strike. Boggs had Gedman at third with 2 out in the second inning and flied out. And he had runners at first when he flied out. And the hot water bottle appears.
That's Wade Boggs.
Trying to keep his hands warm at the start of the inning. Now, isn't that something? You pitch to a guy hitting 130. And you can't throw a strike to him, and now you got the best hitter maybe in baseball along with Don Mattingly, and you immediately go 0-2.
The difference is to Boggs he's pitching, to Owen he was aiming.
A lazy fly ball. He didn't get enough of it, and Strawberry is right there. That's the second out. So Boggs hit one back to the box and 3 lazy fly balls. Owen is at first with 2 out. Marty Barrett, the hitter, and Boggs, a picture of disgust and frustration.
He doesn't do this that often. He's 0 for 4 today and a bit disgusted. He didn't hit that ball a little bit better.
So the batter is Marty Barrett. Double, single, popped to short. 2 for 3. Ball 1. 5-0 Mets in the 7th. He's behind to him 2-0 with Bill Buckner on deck. Ball 3.
Remember the last time that Barrett was up, he worked the count to 3-0 and then worked it to 3-2 and got a base hit. That'll start stirring right now. Stoudemire on the phone.
3-0 the count to Marty Barrett. Taken all the way. Ball 4. So Darling is laboring now. And Roger McDowell, the sinker baller, will get up in the pen. If you remember, McDowell pitched 2 innings back of Bobby Ojeda last night and retired 6 in a row. Well, McDowell heating up, meeting at the mound, and Buckner the batter. Buckner has grounded to first, fouled out to first, and popped up to second. His pop-up in the 5th inning came with runners at first and third. For Darling, 6 walks, his season high, and Mel Stoudemire on his way out to the mound. I don't believe Stoudemire makes pitching changes very often, so he's not bringing a hook with him. He's out there to counsel.
Well, I think he's out there to buy time. There's not a whole lot to counsel about except just keep throwing strikes if you can. That's what you have to do. You got a 5-run lead. Tying runners still over there on that bench, and it's just a case of trying to break the mood.
Well, here's Buckner, 0 for 3. 2 on, 2 out in the 7th. The Sox have left 7 men in 6 innings, and they have 2 aboard now in the 7th. Missed by plenty. Ball 1. On deck, Jim Rice. It's a big at-bat for Buckner to keep the inning alive. Rice can get you in the game in a hurry. Fastball on the outside corner, 1-1. They're going to check on a swing. No swing, says John Kibler.
Got the ball inside. Buckner started after it, but Kibler says no.
Two balls and 1 strike with 2 out. 5-0 Mets, 7th inning. Owen and Barrett away from the bases. Fastball whacked foul. It was up and in, and there wasn't very much Buckner could do with that ball but drill it foul. Pull that one foul, and again inside. He's staying right inside, and all Buck can do is pull him.
It looked like a slider inside, keeping it in there.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Will he gamble with that fastball on the outside part of the plate now that he's crowded him? That's just one of the thoughts going on. Yep, and it's popped up on the left side. Rafael Santana will put it away, and did he do a number on Buckner? The Bucks pops up, and Darling's out of the jam, and it's 5-0 New York.
Hitting home runs is the fun part of my job. Catching is the tough part, the sweaty part. But you won't catch me showering with deodorant soap. I made a break from all that. A clean break with Ivory. Look, that's basic, natural, honest soap. It's not like soaps that cover you with smelly perfumes or deodorants. What's that got to do with clean? Ivory's clean is an honest clean. You can smell it, you can feel it.
Make a clean break, because you just can't beat Ivory's Honest Clean.
Even when you got a special date.
The frustration and despair of Dewey Evans, but it was not always so. Game 6, 1975 World Series. Red Sox and the Reds. Joe Morgan, another little man at the plate with a lot of thunder. And watch this time. He makes a leaping catch and then gets the ball back to the infield. And they will double Ken Griffey off the bag. The sweet and the sour for Dwight Evans. It is 5-0 New York in the 8th inning. Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter, and Darryl Strawberry. Hernandez has walked and grounded out twice. 4-1. The Red Sox have left 9 men on base in 7 innings. And a reminder, local news coming up next on most of these NBC stations. Strike, 1-1. Steve Crawford picking up Al Nipper, who went 6 innings and allowed 3 runs. Crawford has given up 2. Line drive to right. Evans, however, has the ball hooked right to him. So Hernandez stings that one, but he's 0 for 3. And now Gary Carter. At the start of a World Series, and if the Mets win this one, the road club will have won 4 straight. Carter was called out on a curve in the 1st inning and hit a fastball up into the net in the 4th. He's off and running. His double, you remember, a blooper to right field in the 6th inning. Back. Looking ahead, if you're not keeping score, the Red Sox will have Jim Rice, Don Baylor, and Dwight Evans. And if anybody gets aboard, Rich Gedman. Fouled away, so it's still 1-2.
This big Crawford, he just comes right at you. That was a fastball right down the middle. He was going to challenge him, and he did. What determination, huh? Look at those eyes.
Still 1-2. And he's hit another one. A towering smash. Rice never even moved.
Curveball.
And that one went over the screen. That landed on Lansdowne Street. So Gary Carter's 2nd home run tonight and the 3rd home run for the Mets. And it is 6-0 New York.
Oh, was that hit? Was it Rice? It was like somebody had poured concrete, made him a statue. He never even moved. It's a breaking ball, and you talk about hitting it a long way. He fouled off the fastball, the curveball, a high towering drive. No netting going to stop that.
Look out, cars. Out into the Boston night. So 6-0 New York. And Darryl Strawberry, the batter, grounded out, doubled, and flied to right. Darryl 1 for 3. So make no mistake about it, the Mets are now alive and well in Boston. And look at Jim Rice.
He doesn't even turn around. Yes, he does.
Yeah, just to see how far.
High. He knows how it's going to be gone. He's heard that sound many times.
1-1 to Strawberry.
And Vin in the stands, it looked like somebody punched the time clock. All the early workers got to get home.
Talking about workers, I'm sure there are workers at Shea Stadium in New York starting to clean and rub and get ready. He's way out in front. 1-2. So the Mets are trying to go back to New York. One more game tomorrow night. It'll be Dwight Gooden and Bruce Hurst. And he hits it to the hole right by a diving Marty Barrett. So Strawberry is 2 for 4 as he singles to right. And the batter is Ray Knight. And remember, the leadoff hitter, Keith Hernandez, almost broke the ball when he hit the line drive at Dwight Evans. So they're starting to rip Crawford a little bit. Strike to Ray Knight. Bob Stanley loosening up in the Sox bullpen. Knight is wearing that uniform number that tells you how the Mets want the series to be. 0-2. And the Mets are 6 outs away from making it 2-2. And in the middle, Dwight Gooden. He'll be going up against Bruce Hurst tomorrow night in Game 5. John McNamara gambled and really didn't get hurt, but he is tied unless the Sox can get off the floor in the 8th and 9th. Strawberry's going, and he tipped it off. The throw down, he is out. If we have a picture of him at first base, it'll be very interesting, because the scouts have always said he digs in with his left foot, and on an 0-2 pitch, dig in he did, and he was thrown out. The Mets lead 6-0. You tipped it off, Darryl. And now Gary Carter. And he's hit another one. A towering smash. Rice never even moved.
Curveball.
And that one went over the screen and landed on Lansdowne Street. We told you that Darryl Strawberry tipped it off. Watch his left foot. See him dig in? That's the tip off. He's going. See it wiggle? He's telling anybody who knows him that he's going to go. And he took off. And Gedman's throw a little high, and he gets tagged right on the coconut by Marty Barrett. And that's why they wear helmets when they run the bases. Remember, the count was 0-2, so that ended the inning. But amazing how those little mannerisms of ball players, if you can spot it, it's like waving a red flag. Jim Rice, Don Baylor, and Dwight Evans in the bottom of the 8th inning. 6-0 New York. Rice walked, struck out, fly to center, and Roger McDowell is the pitcher. McDowell faced 6 batters last night. Only 1 ball hit in the air to the outfield. 5 ground balls. And there's his shot inside the line. And it's not coming out. Strawberry down to get it, and Rice on his way for 2, and he's in there with a double. The 3rd double for the Sox tonight.
No chance for anybody to come up with that one. 2-base hit written all over, especially when she stops.
So 6-0 Mets, and the Red Sox trying to come back. Don Baylor has walked, struck out, and flied to left. Remember we said about Carter's home run on Lansdowne Street, look out cars? There it is, and he had to crawl under that truck to get it. And he lines it right at Santana. He went down to get it, hit it hard, but lines out. So Rice holding.
And he played perfectly. Santana was protecting the hole between short and third, and that's where he hit it.
So with one away, here's Dwight Evans. Bases loaded in the first inning. Made the third out. Hit into a force play. Flied to left in the fourth. Walked in the sixth. And was left standing at third as Gedman was thrown out trying to stretch. And then, of course, that agonizing moment in the seventh when Dykstra's drive went off his glove for the two-run home run. Big chopper up the middle. Base hit. Here comes Rice to score. So Roger McDowell is touched up for the run as the Sox get on the scoreboard. 6-1 New York, and Rich Gedman the batter. Prior to tonight, McDowell had faced the minimum of 3 batters in 10 of 11 postseason innings. And now here in the 8th, he gives up a double, a line drive out, a single for an RBI, and here's Gedman. Geddy is 2 for 3, doubled and singled. Double to right, singled high off the wall in left, and hits it just foul. Just foul outside of third.
Trying to take the sinker the opposite way, and he comes very close to the extra base hit. That would have been interesting had Evans been running to see if interference would have been called with that bat waving the way it was in front of Carter.
0-2. And a big chopper into right field. Evans around second, on his way to third, and the Sox try to come alive. And now there must be some slight concern at least between Mel Stottlemyre and Davy Johnson. Remember, the only out of the inning was the line drive by Baylor right at Rafael Santana. We've had a double and 2 singles.
And on Gedman's base hit, which we just saw, Hernandez was not playing on the bag. It was really placed perfectly. One of those seeing eye jobs.
And here's Henderson. 0 for 3. 0-1. Rich Gedman standing at first with his third hit. Dwight Evans down the line from third. A run over in the 8th. 6-1 New York. Now back. 1-1. High fly ball to right, deep enough to pick up a run. Strawberry for the catch. Scoring is Evans. Gedman holds at first, and it's 6-2 New York. So Henderson picks up an RBI. Spike Owen is due to come up, and Mike Greenwell, a left-hand hitter, would appear to be the logical candidate to replace him now. Owen, while he was in there, walked twice, but that was against Ron Darling. Now they take the bat away from him, and Greenwell will come up and hit. McDowell, a single baller, has been hit hard in the 8th inning. Evans singled and eventually worked his way around to score the second run. So it is 6-2 Mets, bottom of the 8th. So Mike Greenwell coming up down in the Mets bullpen. Left-hander Jesse Orozco. Remember, Boggs is left-handed, and after Barrett, Buckner is left-handed. McDowell is struggling, no doubt about it, and Greenwell trying to hammer. 6-2 Mets in the 8th. Missed again, ball 2. Greenwell has good numbers, and he finds Gedman standing at first. Mike hit 300 at Pawtucket and hit 314 for the Sox. He was an all-star in the International League. 2 balls, no strikes. Ball 3, and I mean McDowell is hanging on now.
He's all over. There's no consistency in his wildness, so you can't really say there's anything mechanical. He's just not throwing strikes. A lot of times if a fella's wild, if he's wild high, he's not bending in there, but he's just all over the place.
2 out in the inning, remember. And he's walked him. And make no mistake about it, the Sox are alive. We'll have a runner for Greenwell. It might be Ed Romero who figures to play short for Owen. It is. And suddenly what was a pleasant evening in the park, and there's the tip-off. He's going to the chew.
He's going to the chew. And he said that when he goes to the chew, that also means the hook. It's almost like a quinella.
And Wade Boggs.
Here he comes.
The Major League leading hitter is due up. Jesse Orozco is in the bullpen. And that would appear to be all for McDowell. He gave up a double, a line drive out, singles to Evans, a single to Gedman, a scoring fly ball from Henderson, and when he walked Greenwell, he was done. And that will be that for McDowell, his first rocky outing in postseason play. So Orozco going head-to-head with Boggs after this. The story of the Red Sox trying to bounce back as they has done so often. And now what would appear to be an ordinary move. A left-hand pitcher brought into a left-hand batter, but the batter is an extraordinary batter. Orozco, the Mets' all-time saves leader, going against the Major League leading hitter Wade Boggs, who hit .352 against left-hand pitching this year. And if Boggs gets a hit, this place will really come alive.
He really waits well on the left-handers, and usually it's to the opposite field because he waits so long.
Two on, Romero standing at first, Gedman at second, and Orozco center stage. Slow curve, ball 1. Fastball, and he missed inside. Ball 2. And a ground ball to short. Santana to Backman, and Orozco gets Boggs, who goes 0 for 5. And the Mets get out of the jam, but they give up 2 at the end of 8, 6-2 New York. The Mets are leading by 4 as we go to the 9th inning. We are not anticipating or looking ahead, but these are first the definite Game 5, Gooden and Hurst, and the probable Game 6 and Game 7. And looking at Ron Darling, remember now he's pitched 2 World Series games, 14 innings, and he still hasn't given up an earned run. And he might be there center stage in Game 7. Right now it's Bob Stanley.
And I just wonder how many people said short rest when he got off to a shaky start. Short rest would hurt him.
When the bases were loaded, and there he was pitching to Dwight Evans, and he got Evans to hit into a force play. Danny Heap grounded into a double play, fly to right, fouled out, and now pops it up into shallow left. Romero goes out, but coming in is Jim Rice. 1 away.
Danny Heap came within an eyelash of getting Joe Brinkman, the umpire, across his shins with the bat. Brinkman was running out to the infield, and Heap threw it back, and Brinkman had a jump.
Mookie Wilson coming up against Stanley. Mookie grounded out, flied out, and single. And hits a shot just under Stanley's glove into center field. So Mookie is 2 for 4. Remember, he stole second in the 7th inning. And with 2 out, Dykstra homered. The Mets have certainly come alive with the bat. They've had 25 hits now in the last 2 games. Santana 0 for 3. Big bouncer foul. The heart of the Mets lineup tonight, the number 4, 5, and 6 hitters, they are 7 for 12 with 4 RBIs. So they look to the big guys, and tonight they got it.
I tell you, you can't take for granted that Mookie's going to stay there. I mean, it's 6-2. You just can't sit on it. And with Santana up there to stay away from the double play, they might just start him. Stanley made a good throw over there, made it pretty close.
Very close.
He's gone. I tell you, he was gone.
That's a roll-on tag, boy.
Sir.
5-day roll-on.
He's going.
And there goes Mookie on a pitch out. The throw is into center field, and this time it didn't hit Mookie, and he's over to third. Remember the last time Gedman's throw hit him, or he would have gone to third, and this time he made it. Meanwhile, Santana throwing his bat at the pitch.
Gedman he throws the ball right in the ground. He's got the pitch out, distracting when the bat goes there, but he just does not make a good throw. It was not a perfect pitch out, but it was high enough. And Mookie, I'll tell you, he's in his own quiet little way has been upsetting a lot of little things here.
And of course now the Sox have to play the infield up with the count 0-2 to Rafael Santana and a runner at third. And as a shot back to Stanley, and they got Mookie in a rundown. Stanley to Boggs. Boggs to Gedman. That takes care of Mookie with Santana going to second.
Mookie thought that was going to get on through there, but I tell you, he stayed in the rundown long enough to allow Santana to get to second base, and that's all you can do when you're caught in no man's land. Stanley makes a pretty good play. The ball comes right back to him. He kind of smothers it. Now he looks at third base, and hey, look what I got. I got Mookie here. Mookie makes a U-turn, and now he stays in there long enough to allow Santana to go to second.
The only thing that Stanley did wrong, he committed himself a little early so that they were running Santana towards home. And of course, ideally, you'd be running him back towards third. Check swing foul, and the count 0-1. On the hands, and a roller to the right side to Barrett, to Buckner, and they're out of the jam as Wilson was erased in a rundown. And at the end of 8 1/2, 6-2 New York. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. To the bottom of the 9th at Fenway, 6-2 New York. And it'll be Barrett, Buckner, and Rice against Jesse Orosco. Barrett double, single, walked, and looped out to short. 2 for 3. Strike. Marty Barrett has 4 home runs this year, all 4 of them here at Fenway. Big man in the series. And of course MVP in the league championship series. 1-1. 2 balls, 1 strike. And the fastball missed, and he's behind 3-1 to Barrett. In there.
So he does so many things, and he's really a throwback.
3-2. Ground ball to shortstop. Santana over to Hernandez, 1 away. The executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman, and sending along the pictures for your enjoyment, the coordinating producer for NBC Baseball and tonight's director, Harry Coyle. The telecast of tonight's World Series game, produced by John J. Filippelli. Pre-game produced by Les Dennis. Pre-game directed by Andy Rosenberg. Technical directors Lenny Stucker and Steve Semien. Here's Buckner. Grounded out, fouled out, and popped up twice. Unable to get the ball out of the infield, 0 for 4. Right.
That's when Orosco's tough. When he comes from around first base with that good hard fastball.
And a shot, but it's backhanded by Hernandez, and he carries it to the bag. So Buckner hit that one right on the screws, but it's an out, and he goes 0 for 5, along with Wade Boggs. Jim Rice walked, struck out, fly to center, and doubled. When you think about it, a great portion of the Red Sox offense tonight has been the walk. They received 7 bases on balls, and yet they've been unable to cash him in, and that's really a great part of the story. They are 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position tonight. They have left 11 men in 8 innings. Low fastball, but it was the first fastball, and Jim's not going to wait for the second. So for John McNamara, just about a cinch. The series even, and it'll be Dwight Gooden and Bruce Hurst tomorrow night. Fisted foul out of play, and the count 0-2. Ron Darling, who has pitched magnificently in the World Series, 7 innings, no earned runs. Bruce Hurst, who goes tomorrow night, talking to Dwight Evans. 0-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. So Orozco goes 3-2 to Rice. Ron Darling walked 6. Roger McDowell walked 1. 3-2. And he chased the sinker. Down he goes, and that's that. As Orozco strikes out Rice, and the Mets have caught the Red Sox at Fenway Park, and the series is tied 2 games apiece. There were several outstanding contributors, and they would certainly be the pitcher Ron Darling. There was Gary Carter, who had 2 home runs and a double. Carter, Darling, and Lenny Dykstra hit the 2-run home run that broke Dwight Evans' heart, not to mention what it did to the Sox in the 7th inning. So tonight's NBC Miller Lite players of the game: Carter, Darling, and Dykstra. And Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in their names to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. So, Joe, the Mets have done it. They came into Fenway. Everybody worried about the wall and what it would do to them. They didn't work out, and the next thing you know, they're even in the series.
Well, that workout looms bigger and bigger. You mentioned it, and Davey just flat out says he didn't want all his players hearing all the negative press and what goes with it, and so he doesn't work out, and now they've tied up as 2 out of 3.
And isn't it interesting that the wall that seemed to figure so much against the Mets turned out to be a friend, because Carter hit 2 home runs. Maybe a key play was Gedman's ball high off the left field wall, and Mookie Wilson threw him out at second base. Ron Darling, the kid from Millbury, Massachusetts, big man on campus at Yale, and now he's a big man in New York. Let's meet him and go to Marv Albert.
Thank you, Vin. And Ron, a solid performance after some control problems right at the start.
I had a problem tonight. I don't know what it was. I think whether it was just being a little nervous or whether just trying too hard here in the park in my backyard. I think I was just trying too hard out there, and I pitched a lot better in the first game, but fortunately the results were a little better this time.
Well, as we discussed on the pregame show 11 years ago, as a fan, you were sitting in the bleachers in center field watching the Red Sox perform in the World Series. What did tonight mean to you?
Well, it meant a lot because I got to pitch in front of all my friends I grew up with in high school and all that kind of stuff. And luckily, I only let one of the balls go off the wall tonight, but it was just a great thrill for me.
Was there any dream sequence the night before of what might happen, positive or negative, pitching here at Fenway for the first time?
Well, I was hoping to go 9 innings and just get the victory, but with all the guys that walked out there, 7 innings was enough, I guess, and thank God Jesse picked us up. But I just wanted to have a good outing here, and hopefully our team would win to tie it up.
All right, your battery mate, Gary Carter, has been Mr. Clutch. 2 home runs tonight, batting average of .412, and this series has turned around.
It has really turned around, but it really was Lenny Dykstra that started it off yesterday for us, Marv, and then Ronnie Darling just pitched out a jam after jam and pitched an outstanding game, 7 shutout innings, and really that's what it was, a total team effort. It was just nice to be able to win the ball game.
And that home run number 1 as you connected against the low fastball.
Yes, Al Nipper I've never faced before, and I was just told that he throws a lot of curveball sliders, and he's got like a screwball, and all I was looking for first pitch like that with a runner on second was just to try and drive the ball somewhere, and it left it out a little bit out over the plate. night, and fortunately I was able to get it up.
Gary, 6th inning, you're on third base, and would you describe the sliding style of Gary Carter in this situation? Take a look at
when I went back to there's Jim Rice fumbling it a little bit, and I got back to the bag just about the same time that he caught the ball. He threw the ball up in the air, and all I could think about was just trying to avoid Gedman. I almost got away from him. But with my blazing speed, I knew I was going to be out.
Nice form. That's a 2.5.
Was it a 2.5? Well, I'll take it then.
Gary, there was a published report. Of course, we're early when we talk in terms of series most valuable player, but you'd be among the early line favorites. There was a report that there are $100,000 bonuses in the contracts of Darryl Strawberry and Keith Hernandez for winning series MVP. Is there such a clause in the Gary Carter contract?
To be honest with you, Marv, I don't really know at this particular time. All I care about is that we get the ring, and that's what we've been striving for. We've had such a great season all year and had an outstanding series against Houston, and that really drained us, but now we're back 2-2, and the only thing that I got on my mind is get that World Series ring.
Will you be discussing that with your agent at a future date?
Well, no. I just want to be able to play and win, and that's all I've been striving for. I've been financially set up very, very well, and I'm thankful to the good Lord for that, and my family is well taken care of, and so in the future, it doesn't matter. I'm just glad that we're here where we're at right now.
All right, Gary Carter and Ron Darling. Let's get back upstairs to Vin and Joe.
All right, Marv, a reminder, stay tuned following local news for The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, except on the West Coast and most Mountain Time Zone stations, where it will be seen at its regular time. Game 5 of the 1986 World Series comes tomorrow night at Fenway. Till then, for Joe Garagiola, this is Vin Scully wishing you a very pleasant good evening from Boston.